Hi guys, Professor Davis here, and today I wanted to talk to you about trends and challenges in the information age workplace. Today's digital workplace is changing at rapid speeds and it's changing drastically. So it's something that we have to learn how to navigate and learn how to be best successful in this type of environment. So as someone who will be communicating in any style of professional environment, you're going to be affected by these trends. And that's going to be regardless of what field you go into for the most part. The digital workplace is just something that has evolved over time. It's something that's prevalent in today's society, and it's something that I don't see, ever backtracking in any way. So it's things that we have to learn about, things that we have to stay abreast of, and continue a lifelong learning process in such. Now, some trends that that we're seeing in today's digital workplace are going to include newer technologies, of course, such as social media, which is something that a lot of us are familiar with. If for some reason, it's not something that you deal with a lot, social media, I do encourage you to try to branch out, try out new things. You may have a Facebook page, you may not. If you don't, I encourage you at least to, maybe develop one that's not one that you maybe use a lot, but it's something that you can kind of just create an account with to get familiar with and so forth. But for the most part, I know most of you already have that. But we'll talk about other technologies as well, such as Twitter and Instagram, and how businesses are using these things to stay ahead of the competition, so to speak. Other trends include expectations for around the clock availability. With today's digital trends and today's evolving digital workplace, it's it's no longer expected that you will respond to emails by the next working day. For the most part, most of us are on the clock 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, these are expectations nowadays and things that we have to do in order to stay relevant in today's society. Global competition is something that is just gaining so much ground in today's environment. So it's something that we have to be aware of, and we have to learn techniques to be viable in this global market. And I'll talk about that later on as well. Flatten management hierarchies, we'll talk about that. Team-based projects, that is something that most of you are going to encounter no matter what field you go into. And that's why a lot of times in our courses we do teamwork projects, because it helps you to learn how to not only work with others on a team but do so in a digital environment, which is a lot of times how you're working on teams nowadays in today's digital workplace. Of course, you're going to be working with diverse workforces. So with this digital workplace, you're seeing team members come from all over the world. So it's definitely something that can be challenging at times, but it has some numerous benefits as well. And of course, a lot of us are working now out of mobile or even virtual environments. Um, you know, as you can, I'm sure, assume, I'm not located at your main campus. I am working actually from home a lot of times. I work from home, and I work from coffee shops, and I work from, if we're traveling, I work from hotels, and so my office really is a virtual office. My workspace is mobile. I can instruct from anywhere in the world as long as I have a reliable internet connection and a computer that's working and able to support the systems that I need, which is very convenient at a lot of times. But again, there's that expectation of around the clock availability as well. So, the digital workplace has a lot of benefits and a lot of challenges. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be discussing today. Many businesses are beginning to use, like I said on the previous slide, social media as a way of creating more of a media presence. So why are they choosing to do this? Well, a lot of times, often because it's just free. It's being able to market themselves and do public relations initiatives that don't cost the company or organization any money at all for the most part. So it's a great tool. It's wonderful. In fact, we have, and I've mentioned this, I believe, before, but my husband and I have a few businesses, and I use social media quite a bit to market us. I use it for promotions. I use it for advertising. I even make sales off of social media a lot of times. So it's a great tool. It really is. And that's why, just like I said on the previous slide, if you don't have a lot of experience in social media, or perhaps you haven't branched outside of, let's say, Facebook to any other forms of social media, I encourage you to just create some accounts, check them out, get familiar with social media technology, because it is something that is going to be, if it isn't already, something that's expected of us in terms of being able to navigate social media in today's professional work environments. Now, again, why? Because it's free a lot of times, or at least it's relatively pretty cheap. Facebook, you can run sponsored advertisements and so forth. It does cost money, and it does depend on how many days you're going to run the advertisement, how many people you expect to view it, and so forth. But again, it's, in terms of running an advertisement in a well-known magazine, or just running just a load of Facebook advertising, it can be relatively a lot cheaper. Also, we have to consider how much social media does for us. Social media draws large amounts of people from all over the world to see your product. And, kind of going back to what I was talking about with our businesses, we have one business that is a property management company, and then I have another business that is basically a clothing retailer. It's something that one's just, one that I like to do for fun. But with that being said, as far as the clothing retailer goes, a lot of my business is global. A lot of it isn't even in the United States. Now, I do have a quite a large client base in the United States, but I do have clients from all over the world. So it's something that social media has really helped me on that, because I'm able to draw large amounts of people from all over the world to view my product. Facebook alone has over 1 billion users. 1 billion users. So creating a Facebook page for your business and just using it for announcements and marketing and PR and so forth, you technically have the ability to reach 1 billion people. That's amazing. That would be much more so than trying to run an advertisement, like I said, in a popular magazine, or for that matter, even run a commercial on television. You're just not going to reach that many people, and develop a following afterwards as well. Twitter has more than 145 million users. That's a lot. Now, it's not comparable, obviously, to Facebook at this point, but Twitter is growing at astronomical speeds, with the amount of people that are actually using this technology. And of course, we have other things such as, Instagram, and there's just so many more. But with Twitter having 145 million users, that averages on pretty much any day to be about 90 million tweets per day. Now, if you're not familiar with Twitter lingo, I'll talk about what tweets are in a minute, but that's a lot. That's a lot of messages there, and it's a huge, huge possible client base for you to reach, your service, your product, your organization that you're working for, your company, whatever it is. So social media has, presented a great way to create media presence. Now, are there any drawbacks? Well, yes, with anything there's going to be drawbacks, but a few of the drawbacks could be that bad customer service experiences can be more prevalently, presented in the public eye. A lot of times people will use Twitter to voice their opinions on a product that might not be the best, in the best light. So it might be a negative opinion there. Facebook is the same way. So with this great tool that we have in today's society, we have to consider the fact that it has a backside as well. And that could be that, with that increased media presence, we're seeing, more bad customer service experiences and so forth that, are being presented there for possible clients to view. Such bad experiences can lead to lifelong grudges against the company, the organization, the product, and so forth. Basically speaking, though, word of mouth, positive and negative, can travel instantly at the speed of just a few mouse clicks. So that's kind of the negative side of social media, but I do think the positives outweigh the negatives. So how are businesses using social media? Well, tech-savvy companies are starting to embrace these digital tools to connect with consumers on more of a personal level, which is something that I've seen here recently more and more, and I think it's really neat. they're inviting feedback through social media. So that's very interesting as well. They're using feedback that they are gaining through their consumers to improve their services or their products or so forth. So they're getting more of an immediate response from people, which is pretty neat as well. Excuse me. They're also using social media to announce promotions and events. They do this through linking blog posts, tweets, which again, I'll go over that in just a minute. So using Twitter, company websites, they're using social media to link to their company website. They're using, of course, Facebook and Instagram and all these other online communities to really present their product, present their service, and sell it, so to speak. But above all, plugged-in businesses realize that to manage public perceptions, they have to not only just be proactive about things, but they also have to learn how to quickly respond in social media if a crisis hits. They need to go where the consumers or the customers are, and they need to attempt to establish and keep a loyal online following. Now, it's never been easier to interact with so many people at once than it has been in modern day society using social media. So it's definitely a great tool there. To make the most of these newer resources, though, professional communicators or future professional communicators such as yourself have to learn how to develop a toolkit with these new communication skills. You'll have to excuse me, I keep getting tongue-tied this morning. All right. So, with that being said, I want to discuss a few communication technologies that I think you're going to run across in the future if you haven't already. And some of you would have ran across some of these, all of these perhaps so far, but I do want to discuss these because it's something that you're going to see in your career at some point, whether you realize it or not. Perhaps you're not working in the business world and you're going into a different career field. You're still going to run across this stuff because we're turning into such a digital workforce on many different grounds. In fact, even in the medical industry, I was reading an article the other day where they're starting to do virtual doctors for the most part. And I don't mean like WebMD or something like that. I mean, I saw an article. The article focused on how one doctor geared her whole medical career to work as a virtual doctor. And what she does is she works in hospitals all over the world, but she does so through a computer screen. They put the computer on a cart, and the cart is able to be maneuvered through virtual means wherever she is in the world. So it's kind of like almost like a remote control car, if you can think of it in those terms. And she makes her way through the hospital. She can see through her computer screen, and navigate around the hospital. She goes into patients' rooms. She interacts with them through a computer. And it's almost like she's in the room. She goes, "Hey, Mr. John Smith, how are you doing today? Oh, how are you feeling?" and so forth. Then she maneuvers out of the room and goes and sees the next patient. So I think that's really interesting. So not only, are you going to see these digital workforce changes in the business world, but no matter what field you go into, you're going to see this more and more. So I'll kind of stop there because, as you can imagine, I kind of get to going on that one, and I can talk about all the different fields that are using this stuff now. But I do want to talk about these communication technologies. So the first one I want to talk about is cloud computing. And you've probably read this somewhere in your textbook so far. You may have seen it mentioned in the material or so forth. So I want to talk about what cloud computing is. Increasingly, applications and data are being stored in remote locations online, and we refer to these remote online locations as in the cloud. Cloud computing basically means that businesses and individuals no longer need to maintain costly hardware and software in-house. Rather, they can pay for digital storage space, some remote location online. They can pay for this digital storage space and software applications, area that they're able to store things in. So they're storing them in the cloud. We used to have days where we had to keep all this junky stuff on our computer desk where we'd have external hard drives and we were backing up things left and right and keeping the flash drives everywhere, the jump drives, whatever you want to call them, these big bulky external hard drives because we were backing up our computer onto the external hard drive and then we'd store the external hard drive somewhere and so forth. But now all you have to do is a lot of times you're paying for this digital storage space that's in some remote, very secure location online, and you're able to access it from anywhere because it's stored online. So if you forgot your external hard drive at the office, no worries. You can locate this stuff just by having a computer and a secure internet um, connection there. So you're locating this stuff in the cloud. And I did want to provide you with a few examples so that you kind of understand what they are. Flickr's been something that a lot of you have, might have seen so far. That's going to be photo and video. It's a photo and video sharing site, which allows you to keep photos in the cloud, so to speak. So you can store the photos that you've taken on Flickr, and you can access them at any time online through the cloud, so to speak. I remember a time where we had to print off all of our photos and stick them in photo albums and put them somewhere in our home until we ran out of space for all the photo albums. And there was a lot of drawbacks to that. What if, gosh forbid, your house caught on fire? Well, your photos were gone. I've started backing up a lot of my photos on jump drives and throwing them in a fire safe in my house. But truth be told, I could be using a site such as Flickr or so forth to store my photos and videos in a secure location online in the cloud. So if something were to happen, I only would need a computer to relocate my family photos. So it's pretty neat. Carbonite is another example I wanted to talk about, and that is a site which allows users to edit and sync files online independent of the device they're using to access them. My best example for that would be a lot of times I have contracts that have to be signed digitally by myself as well as other parties. So with that, I'll use a site such as Carbonite, and I'll store the document there online. It's a secure location. And I will digitally sign the document. I will then request that this document be sent to whoever it is that it needs to be sent to. That person will open that document, not having to save it on their computer or anything like that. They'll digitally sign the document, and then they'll save the changes there. They'll submit it or so forth. So I don't necessarily have the document saved on my computer. They don't have the document saved on their computer, but we're able to edit and make changes independent of saving it on anybody's computer and still be able to access this document online. So it's actually a great tool, especially for professional communications. Another communication technology that I want to talk about is how we're using telephony. Excuse me. Many savvy businesses are switching from traditional phone services, so our traditional phone services that we're used to something called Voice over Internet Protocol. Voice over Internet Protocol allows callers to communicate using just a broadband internet connection, and of course a device of some sorts. And it eliminates long distance phone charges and local telephone charges as well. So higher end Voice over Internet Protocol systems now support unified voicemail, emails, click to call, and that's going to be phones using some kind of computer network there. So why is the digital workforce using voice over internet protocol systems instead of the traditional telephone systems? Well, often it's because they're free or they're just low cost. I have a school that I work for now that, well, actually I have several schools that I'm working for now that we contact our students using Skype. It's free. It doesn't require you to use your cell phone. Or better yet, the systems we're using, they're low cost. They're a version of Skype that's not free, but it's because we have all the other bells and whistles that go along with it. So, but it could be. I have an account that I use as a personal account that is free, and I do contact students through that one as well. So Skype is a great tool. It's a great voice over internet protocol system, which allows us to communicate with each other just through a broadband internet connection and of course some form of a device. All right, so the next communication technology that I want to discuss is voice recognition. And this is one that has served me well in my career so far. Computers equipped with voice recognition software enable users to dictate up to 160 words a minute with accurate transcription. Wow, 160 words a minute. That's fast. So, it can be this type of voice recognition communication technology can be really helpful for disabled workers and professionals with that have heavy dictation loads. And I put on there hello future professors because as you can imagine, I do a lot of typing. Just giving you your grading comments each week, and typing out emails to you guys and typing out announcements and typing out discussion initial posts and reply posts, and my goodness, it just adds up after a while. So these old wrists get a little tired. My carpal tunnel starts acting up, and that's when the voice recognition software comes out, and I'm able to give you guys the information you need and kind of save my wrists a little bit. So this is a great communication technology that's really just been taking off in the past few years. Users can create documents, they can enter data, they can compose and send emails, they can browse the web, and they can even control their desktop all by their voice. So it's a very, very helpful tool that more and more businesses are starting to use. And an example of this would be Dragon software. I use the Dragon software. It's voice recognition software. It's just something that I purchased and I downloaded on my computer. I believe it was $100. And it's just, wow, it's been such a time saver. It's been a risk saver. It's been everything. So, it's something that I think more and more businesses are going to start integrating into their workforce computers as a way of increasing productivity, efficiency, and so forth. A lot of you might be familiar with this because on your smartphones, you'll see that little microphone on there, and you can hit the microphone and you can talk out your text. And that's voice recognition software. So it's very, very common tool nowadays. Another communication technology I wanted to discuss that we're seeing more and more in the digital workforce is voice conferencing. Telephone bridges allow two or more callers from any location to share the same call. So if you've ever been in a workplace setting and they said, okay, we're having a meeting at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, and here's the dial-in number, so I need you to call this number, and then it's going to ask for a meeting code, and you're going to type in this other number, and then you're going to hear kind of like a beep, and you're going to enter this meeting where there's who knows how many people on that call. Well, that is voice conferencing. So if you haven't used that yet, you definitely will. You'll see it a great deal in your professional environment. Pretty much no matter what field you're going to, you're going to be using these types of meeting technology. Voice conferencing is often associated with these other titles as well. It's also called audio conferencing, teleconferencing, or just conference calling in general. So just so you don't mix up those terms, they're all one and the same. Voice conferencing, though, enables people to collaborate by telephone. So it allows us to come together no matter where we are in the world, and connect using these bridges basically and share in on the same call. And if you're going into the business world, you will use that a great deal. My husband is works as a director of marketing for a very large company, and he's always hosting meetings. If he's not hosting the meeting, he's on a meeting. So he uses that a great deal. Now, another communication technology that I want to talk about that you're definitely going to see as well is video conferencing. So it's along kind of the same lines as voice conferencing, but as you can imagine, it's going to have video in here as well. Video conferencing allows participants to meet in special environments or conference rooms that are equipped with cameras and television screens. But you know what? I want to branch out a little bit with that as well, because video conferencing, you can actually do this as well through your own personal devices if you have the right equipment. So it doesn't have to be some special conference room. As long as you have the right equipment, you can do it anywhere. Now, I want to use this example because I recently presented a research paper at an academic conference, and we did these presentations in what they were calling a new smart classroom. It was so interesting, guys. It had probably it wasn't a large room. It probably had 20 televisions lining the wall all around the classroom, flat screen TVs. And it was really cool because we had cameras in the classroom, and then of course we had all these televisions. So we had people presenting at these conferences that were, in Seattle or in DC or they were all over the world. And they were doing so through their webcams, of course, on their personal computers, and then we were able to link the videos to all of the TVs in the classroom. So not only were we seeing this person doing their presentation in Seattle, and they were actually doing it at this conference where we were meeting, but we were also able to see it from anywhere in the classroom we sat because there were so many televisions in that room. And of course, we also had smart boards in there, and it's interactive. It almost kind of looks like a digital chalkboard, and that's basically what it is. So we're able to interact through smart boards, and it was just such a really cool experience. And it was what I see future classrooms starting to become, and not just classrooms, but it's going to be future conference rooms, future meeting rooms, future anything you're going to see in a professional setting, I believe, is going to start evolving into this smart environment. So it's very interesting. But back to video conferencing as a whole, individuals or groups see each other and interact in real time, even though they might be far apart. And they're doing so through webcams. Faster computers, rapid internet connections, and better cameras now enable anywhere from 2 people to 200 participants to sit at their computers or their mobile devices and share applications, share spreadsheets, presentations, photos, and more. And, although this is recorded, if you guys were live in this room right now with me, we would be having a video conference. I have tools in certain video conferencing software that I use that allow you to take control of the meeting. You could be the presenter. You can actually upload things from your computer and show us what you're looking at. So if you had a question or a presentation that you were delivering, you could deliver it from your home computer to all of us located all over the world. So communication technology, another one I want to discuss real quick is web conferencing. And web conferencing is, well, I guess let me start here. Many web conferencing services allow us to now hold a meeting, which is called a webinar, with customers and or colleagues in real time with only a computer or a smartphone and an internet connection needed. So this is actually going to be more along the lines of what I was talking about, where you could share presentations and so forth. Video conferencing is basically where we're just using the cameras and we're seeing each other and we're doing it that way. Web conferencing is a little bit more digitally interactive. So examples of such services are GoToMeeting. That's one that you're going to see in your professional experiences. WebEx is another one. Microsoft Live Meeting, Adobe Connect, and more. And that's where we can all go into one virtual classroom style environment. It's not really a classroom. I don't want to call it that. One virtual meeting space. I could host a meeting for you guys. You guys can utilize a chat box in the room and type out questions or statements or so forth, talk to each other using the chat features. You have microphone access. If you want to talk through your microphones, you could. You could, if I gave you what they call the privileges in the meeting to do so, then you could upload a presentation or show us photos, or if you have a question about a homework problem, you could load that on the screen, and we could all talk it over just like we would if we were in a classroom. So examples, like I said, of these services, web conferencing, GoToMeeting, WebEx, Microsoft Live Meeting, Adobe Connect, and so much more are things you're definitely going to be seeing in the digital workplace, and especially in your professional careers as well. Web conferencing currently incorporates a lot of different things, and that's kind of what I was discussing with my example. Screen sharing. So going back to what I said about if you had a question about a homework problem or so forth, in the academic environment at least, I could allow privileges for you in the web conferencing environment to allow you to share your computer screen with me, and you could actually share your math problem with me, and I could go, oh, okay, this is the step you missed, or so forth. But in the professional environment, let's say that you are wanting to, let me think about this for a second, wanting to show everyone a specific document. Maybe you wanted to show us the document so we learn how to fill it out properly, or so forth. You could, instead of emailing that document to each person and then writing this very long email about how to fill it out, you could actually share your screen in a web conferencing environment, your computer screen, and we could see the document and you can talk us through it in real time. So that's very convenient. Chat features, like I said, people use the chat bars in these web conferencing environments to talk to each other, to discuss things and so forth. Slide presentations, again, kind of like I'm doing right now. I'm doing a slide presentation for you guys. Text messaging, application sharing, and so much more. So let's say that there is a new software with the organization, the company, whatever it is that you're working for. There's this new type of software that the company's starting to use and they want to train you on it. Well, they'll share their screen with you and share that application with you and show you how to properly use this new type of software so that you understand it. In a web conferencing room, like, a webinar type of environment. And, you can ask real-time questions and so forth. So it's very convenient. Communication technology, we've talked about social media. I do want to hit on this one more time, though. Social media describes technology which enables participants to connect and to participate in social networks online. For example, tech-savvy companies and individuals send tweets, and this goes back to Twitter. Remember, I told you that I'd go over Twitter a little bit for you if you're not too familiar with it. So it allows companies and individuals to, of course, create an account through Twitter and send tweets to other users to issue updated news about their products, or even to link their blogs or their websites, or even just to make announcements on events or promotions. So what is a tweet? Okay, well, let's start with Twitter. Twitter is a microblogging service. So think about a blog that you would read online. Twitter is a type of environment that allows you to do mini blogs, basically, okay? So it's a microblogging service which allows short messages or tweets. These short messages are known as tweets, and these tweets can be up to 140 characters and no larger. Okay, so you can tweet about something about your product, or you can tweet an announcement about an event or promotion or anything like that. You can link your blog to your Twitter account, or there's all different kinds of things there. So unlike Facebook, let's use that as an example because most people are familiar with that. Unlike Facebook, where you can write this long message and post it to Facebook, Twitter only allows you to do very short messages. So in these messages can only be made up of 140 characters or less. So you have to choose your wording wisely on there. You can use hashtags to link to certain things and so forth. But that's kind of an overview of what Twitter is and how that's being used. That form of social media is being used in the digital workplace. Twitter also allows businesses to track what's being said about them and their products. So I might say, let's say I have my personal account, right? My personal Twitter account. And I might say, loving the new phone plan I'm on at hashtag Verizon. Okay, let's say that I did like that. Then that short message was less than 140 characters, and that hashtag Verizon allows that company to go, hey, this person's talking about me. They can then see that message on their own accounts and review what I said on their product, their service, or so forth because of that hashtag. So if I just said, loving my new phone plan at Verizon, then they wouldn't know I'm talking about them. But because I put the hashtag in front of it, it links to them and they're able to see it then. And as we know, Facebook is another great social media tool for businesses as well. So we've already talked about that, though. Lastly, I want to talk just real briefly about the communication technologies of blogs, podcasts, and wikis. Businesses are using blogs to keep customers and employees informed and also to receive feedback on things. So a lot of times people are even creating personal blogs as well as a way of promoting products, reviewing products, and so forth. So blogs have really, they've seen a lot of growth in the past, I'd say 10 years. They're probably not as prevalent as a lot of other things now, but they are definitely being used. Podcasts are an audio or video file streamed online or downloaded to a digital music player, such as a lot of times you can even download podcasts to your phone and such now. So you used to have an iPod to do so or whatever, but now you can just do it to your phone and it works perfectly. So podcasts or any kind of audio or video file that's either streamed online or it's downloaded and you can view, listen to it as many times as you want to. A wiki is a website which allows multiple users to collaborate, excuse me. A wiki is a website which allows multiple users to collaboratively create and edit pages. Um, you will use this in the business world, of course. I use it a lot when I create my classes. I use wikis to to edit pages in the course so that you guys can see all the wonderful information that you see. So information can get lost a lot of times in, if it's just email back and forth, but wikis provide an easy way to communicate and keep track of what's being said, what's being created, what's being edited, and so forth. Because technologies and procedures are constantly changing, though, and this is why we've talked about all these communication technologies and so forth, but because these technologies and these procedures are constantly evolving, you have to learn to be flexible and really just be willing to engage in lifelong learning. So I know that a lot of these newer communication tools are, well, new to a lot of you and something that you're going to have to learn to navigate and better understand. But it's something we have to do if we're going to be professionals in today's digital workforce. We have to be willing to be flexible and willing to engage with these new technologies and willing to be lifelong learners with such things. We can't just accept that our skill set is what we have and that's it, and I'll find a position that works for, because it's always evolving and it's always changing. I've known nurses to go in, obviously, in the nursing field and work for hospitals where, they may have been in their careers for 25 years, and what they did 25 years ago is drastically different than what they do today because of digital technology. So they've had to be lifelong learners in order to stay in their fields. So learning these new things can be great. They can help us to have the edge in today's workforce. Knowledge workers who are well skilled and great communicators often tend to find employment and advancement even in tough job markets. So that's why we're going to be discussing this and so much more in this course to really make sure that you're prepared for the digital workforce, that you're a well skilled, great communicator, which can find these employments, move up and advance in there even in a tough job market. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me. Otherwise, thanks for listening and have a great day.